All right. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to share some ideas and a visual representation of an overall structure for the global EcoVillage network. Most of this is how we're currently operating. I've added a couple new things, and I really hope it'll stimulate some productive dialogue for our further development. And my dream is that we come out of Gen Plus 20 with a really clear structure for how we can support our future growth and development. And we all know that Gen is a big idea, which is itself evolving rapidly. So it's difficult, if not impossible, to fully represent its beauty and complexity just in one visual image. And before even trying, I think it's important to think about some basic considerations that we would want to have in any structure going forward. And so some that I came up with is that it should be decentralized, but with central support. It should be representational, so all voices can be heard. Consistent, so as to build peer-to-peer linkages and also efficiency of communication across the network. Flexible, to support local initiatives and different ways of doing things within regions. It should be scalable, so that as many people as want to can get involved. And it should be expandable, to take on new regions or for regions to subdivide and create national networks. And there's probably more, so think about if there are other structural considerations that you think we should add. All right, so let's start with you, or really anyone who's excited about Gen and wants to get involved. And the first step is typically to connect to one or more regional activities. Okay, we'll call these circles. And some circles are common across most or all regions, and some may be unique to one region. Now, what are these regional activities? Well, we have working groups that are engaged with such topics as communications and design, networking and outreach, finance and fundraising, education and research, IT. There's also interest in creating an internal communications working group to support our internal communications. And to be honest, I'm not convinced that these are the best configuration of working groups for Gen. They very well may be, but I don't think we've done the due diligence to really think this through as a collective. So I'm also hoping that we can talk about this and how this has been working and what working groups do we really want going forward. And a fairly recent idea is also to support what some are calling thematic interest groups. I guess we can call them TIGs. These are for people to come together around our particular population within our network to support each other. NextGen is considering whether this is a good fit for them, and there's other possibilities as well. And then there's also a lot of ad hoc groups that might form to support an event or a project and then dissipate when that's completed. And again, it would be great if we could consensus on the circles that we'd like to have common across all regions, because I think this would really allow us to network more efficiently and I think have a greater impact in the world. Okay, so you're involved in one or more circles and everything's going great. And the dream is that every circle has clear purposes, accountabilities, and also authorities to manage projects and activities within their domain. They can organize and meet however they like, but there are a few roles that would be common to each. One is a point person for each circle who can serve as the link to connect with other circles in their region. And okay, I suppose that it's possible that there are circles that don't require a point person, but then they don't really have a place in the structure, so we'll ignore those for now. So all of the lead links can come together on a regular basis, perhaps monthly, I don't know, and together they form a regional council that can share updates and support each other in really doing the work of the region. Now these could also be double linked, where two people focus on the two different directions and flow of information, but for now I'm only using single links. Now, something that has shown up in a few regions that I think is a really good idea is to have a regional focalizer, or director if we want to call him that, whose job it is to chair this regional council and also work with and report to their regional board. Okay, so that's the representation of a regional network. Now, let's broaden our vision to include multiple regions. I've included 5 here, but that will likely expand over time. All right, so how can regions effectively network with each other? Well, one way is by identifying another role, another point person within each common regional circle. But this role, instead of linking with other point persons from all the different circles in their region, these persons would link with other point persons in equivalent or corresponding circles in other regions. So, for example, the red links can all come together into an international circle where they can share about similar issues or projects across regions. And you can see that each dot is actually pointing to its corresponding dot. I didn't draw all the lines because it would get way too confusing, which you can understand when we add the other international circles. Okay. All right, and then each of these international circles elects a representative who, together with the focalizers from each region, would form the International Council, now called the Steering Group, which would be chaired by the International Focalizer, who manages a team of international staff and reports to the International Board, which is made up of representatives from each regional board. Now, this is a circle that we currently have double linked within each region, and in that there are two representatives from each region to the board. And we could continue this way, but I'm also thinking that with an effective international council, we could perhaps streamline the board so that it could focus on board level responsibilities of setting policy, reviewing and approving budgets, fundraising, evaluating the international focalizer, etc. And I also imagine there'd be other people coming into the board as well. Okay, so you can see there's the regional representatives to the board. All right, it's kind of pretty too. Now, to mention, it would be very easy to add a new region to the structure. Although I should say that the model isn't quite accurate, as each of the international circles would now have 6 links instead of 5, but it's close. And also, it would be very easy for individual regions to further subdivide into national networks. And I also didn't represent this fully, but you get the idea. Also, in these cases, I'd imagine that at least the regional council would hire some staff to support such a broad network that has national networks as well. All right, so that is my best effort at representing what we're doing now and how we might further develop. And of course, there's lots of questions that I'm hoping you can think about and that we can talk together about in the coming days. For example, as I mentioned earlier, are these the right common circles? For example, how can we best manage projects and membership within and across regions? And how do we want to hold and support our internal communications? Do we want to support and formalize thematic interest groups? And if so, should NextGen be one? How can we best honor the uniqueness of each region and really let them develop somewhat independently while also maintaining a level of consistency across the networks? For example, should each region at least create a structure with certain common circle reps? Good question. Is this too ambitious? I mean, certainly this is bigger than our current network, but is it something that we can grow into? There's been a lot of talk recently about the international focalizer role being shared across several people. And so what would this look like? And is this a workable structure? And should the board be double or single linked? And of course, who else would want to join? And how would we solicit other people to join the board as well? Of course, who would be paid in the structure? An important question. And how would communication flow and spread across the network? Terminology, what would we call these positions? I threw in a couple new words just to sort of break the mold a bit, but it's an important question of how do we name all these positions and roles. And is there a minimum and maximum size of these circles that would make them most effective? I know this has been a big issue, for example, within CASA, which has a very large regional council. And on the other end, can we start with even just one person representing a circle, regional circle in any given region? And how can we work with partners? This is a big question that's not really represented well in the structure. So I have some big ideas of how Guideducation might fit really well in the structure, but this is a general question of if we were to show this to partners, how might they feel invited and included in this? And then most importantly, what am I missing? What questions or ideas do you have around all this? All right. That's basically it. So thank you for your dedication to Gen, and I look forward to talking and working with you in the coming days to help us create a vessel, I think, big enough to hold all our visions for a sustainable future. Thanks.